This is gonna be fun with my mic. I feel so official now. The big bucks. Got that YouTube money. I got the cheapest mic I could. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my FIDM experience kind of as a part 2, but also as a general art school, design school questionnaire type of thing. If you're new to my channel and you've just stumbled across this because you've come to the conclusion that you might want to study art or design in college and you don't really know how to navigate that, and I totally understand, I went through it myself. It's really scary. So today we're going to be talking about that and my journey through FIDM, which is a specialized design school, and other general like privatized art schools, and if they're worth it, and even if going to art school is the right choice for you. So if you like my channel, you could definitely subscribe down below if you want to see more creative videos from me. I do all sorts of stuff. There's really something for everyone here. So without further ado, let's get started. I did that like without exhaling fully. you know that nervous thing you do? Leave that in. But I like the street noise. You know, I could really do without all the street noise. Have you heard of jump cuts? You should have more jump cuts. This video could be like 5 minutes shorter. Cool. All right. So before we get into the general design school Q&A, I'm gonna do just a brief rundown on my experience at FIDM. So if you live in the US, you probably may have heard of FIDM if you are looking into an art school. FIDM stands for the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. It is a private art school. It's based in LA and San Francisco, and I don't know if they still have the San Diego and Orange County campuses. I think they might have the San Diego one. I don't know. But I attended FIDM in Los Angeles. I started in October of 2014 and I graduated in June of 2016 with my degree in graphic design. Now I started at FIDM in fashion design. Gus is sitting on my desk, so he just stood upright in the shot. I started at FIDM in fashion design because that is what I initially applied for. And so to dive in real quick into the application process for FIDM, it is pretty much like any college that there is an application. You can get denied from it. It's not just like they'll take anyone who comes in. So I initially applied for fashion design, and that required just like some sketches of like the 9-head figure. I'll see if I can find some pictures of my initial entrance project. I'll put those here. Just some sketches of some like silhouettes, some clothing, and just like my general interest in fashion design. I think I wrote an essay too. Okay guys, so I remember that there was one other thing that I did for my FIDM admission project, and it was actually to film a video. So get ready for some pretty intense cringe. I remembered I had this after we filmed, so enjoy.
Hi, my name's Kelly Conway. I'm from Newcastle, California, and this is my FIDM application video. So one thing as a designer that's really important to me is designing clothes that help girls feel really confident about themselves. And I know with fashion it helped me a lot with my confidence too. This first design is very retro, but almost kind of like a Victorian feel. It has a silk with a lace overlay that kind of keeps it very feminine but chic at the same time. And it has a higher waistline and a higher cut line too to keep it kind of modern as well. This next design is very kind of city modern, and it's a flannel. It's very soft, but underneath it has a ruffle to give it a kind of more volume. And it has a gold zipper that goes across the front, and it kind of keeps it very put together and very simple at the same time. This design is kind of similar in build to the other one. It's the kind of 1940s retro housewife look, but keeping it very modern as well. The texture is kind of a rough surface with a ruffle underneath to give it volume as well. And the buttons on the front kind of break up the pattern too. This dress is very, very feminine and chic. I love it so much. It has a mixture with texture as well, with the lace to give it a very feminine look. And I kind of imagine it as like a ballroom gown, but it's a little shorter to kind of add a modern flair to it. One thing that is important to me is texture, and when I'm designing or I'm shopping, I like to feel different textures and how is it going to feel on me and how is it going to feel on the customer that I could be designing for. This dress, it was mainly modeled after Audrey Hepburn. It's very, very tight, but with a nice texture to kind of break it up a little bit too, and has a pearl collar around it to kind of give it that retro 1950s look. This last design is my favorite, and like I said, texture is very, very important, so in this outfit it's very apparent. And so on top is a thick yarn weave of blue and white, and on the bottom is a rougher material that's kind of like a mustard yellow. And I like the contrast in the textures too, and I like wearing kind of maroon tights with it, with bigger boots to kind of break it up as well. So this is my work without my education from FIDM, and by attending the school, I believe that I can only be more successful from there. And one day, I hope to call myself a proud alumni, and all the things that I will learn at FIDM are going to be very beneficial to me. And so I hope to see everyone next fall, and I'm looking forward to attending the school. Thank you.
Yikes. That was painful. I'm sorry you had to watch that, but senior year Kelly, yay. Anyway, on to the rest of the video. But once I started at FIDM, rewind. I applied to FIDM and then I had an interview. So for the most part, and I believe this is still true, FIDM does do interviews for all students, whether that's an in-person interview or it's over Skype for some international students. I did my interview in San Francisco because I am from Northern California. So yeah, they just asked me about like creative stuff. I don't really remember it too much because it was a long time ago now. It was probably like 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, maybe. So they ask you about like your creative process and stuff, and like what you want to do, what you're excited about. It's not very intense, and they pretty much tell you at the end of the interview if they want you or not, which is pretty weird. And when I had my interview, the girl in front of me came out crying and looked really upset, so I was terrified. I was like, oh god, I'm not getting accepted. But I did get accepted. So I started in fashion design in LA, and after a quarter I decided that I did not want to study fashion design, and I changed my major. I changed my major on a whim, and I had a roommate at the time who was in graphic design, and then she ended up changing her major to interior design. So we all had some identity crises in our apartment that quarter. But yeah, I saw what she was doing and I was really jealous. She was just doing like some stuff in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, and I was like, that looks so cool. I want to be doing like magazine covers. That looks awesome, instead of doing like pattern making. So I changed my major, and it was pretty much like I had to reapply to the school. So I had to do pretty much like a graphic design portfolio admission. So you kind of like work on like just a little mini like branding project. You take an existing brand, and Gus just tried to jump on the counter and fell off. You take an existing brand and then you kind of expand on it a little bit and make some other branding elements. Like you, for example, took Patagonia and I redesigned their logo a little bit, and then I made it into like some shopping bags and like some in-store signage and things like that, just to expand on the brand and show like kind of what I'm capable of. So yeah, then I was accepted into graphic design, and then I started in graphic design in January of 2015. So the course at FIDM is quite fun. I had a great time. Every single quarter I took 5 classes, except for my last quarter I took 4. I didn't have a summer quarter because I started in fashion design, so I kind of lost that summer quarter that I would normally have off, so I had to go year round to kind of catch up and still graduate in June of 2016. So your courses kind of start out a little bit, more introductory. So if you are really uneasy going into graphic design in regard to like your technical skills, they do have a lot of like kind of like introductory courses in the sense of, this is kind of like a refresher of Illustrator and Photoshop, InDesign. Those are definitely like the 3 that like if you're looking into going into graphic design, those are the 3 programs that you will be using the most, and you should pretty much go in knowing those at least like somewhat well at like a beginner level. Don't let it be like the first time you're opening the program in those classes, especially InDesign. A lot of designers neglect InDesign. Don't neglect InDesign. So as you go throughout your courses, you start doing a little bit more advanced stuff. So you go from the kind of fundamental classes into, you maybe take like a logo design class, you take a branding class. They also do a lot of web design classes at FIDM, which is pretty cool. So I took web 1, 2, and 3, and they're super fun classes because I learned how to code, which is pretty helpful. I don't know if I could still code well, but I really enjoy doing websites. Then you get more into like branding classes. I took one where I had to rebrand an album cover, and we pretty much did the entire like digipack, if you will. So everything that goes into like a CD, so like the booklet, all of the trays and everything, and the album cover, and like some posters and like merch that would go along with like a brand launch for a specific band or a musician. Jesus Christ. Oh, he just went, he couldn't do it. God, maybe sweat. Okay. And then I took another branding class. It's definitely very brand heavy versus like more like the entertainment side where you work on like advertisements and like movie posters and stuff. That's a little bit of a different part of design, but they definitely focus more on the branding side. So I took some courses on how to develop like a proper brand for a business. What else did I do? I took so many classes and I can't remember any of them. What other classes did I take? I can only remember like 4. It was a lot of branding classes. You still take general ed courses because that's just required by law if you want an actual like certified degree. I still took math. I took 2 math classes. I took statistics and I took like a general math class. I took econ. I took American history. Oh, I took a lot of public speaking classes, some like professional development classes. That's one thing that FIDM does really push you on is your general like professional development, meaning you present well in interviews, you know how to look professional and have a good portfolio, how to have a strong resume, all of those things. They are pretty good at helping you build those. So yeah, your final class that you take in graphic design is your portfolio class, which is pretty much taking all of the work that you've worked on over the course of time that you've been there and then putting it all together in a cool little silver box thing, and that's your portfolio. You mock it up on these cool boards and then you present it to a bunch of people in your final portfolio presentation, and it's super stressful and really scary because there are people there who are going to be judging you and commenting on your portfolio because that's generally how it goes. I don't know if that's the same across all art schools, but that's how it was at FIDM. So okay, now that was my general FIDM experience. So now I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys submitted to me about either FIDM in general, art school in general, is it worth it, yada yada. So cool. Okay, I don't even know where to start. So I'm just gonna go through these randomly because there are a lot. I'm gonna refresh to make sure I got all of them. Oh cool, like 8 more just came in. Okay, so can you be a designer if you don't know how to draw? I've always wondered that. Yes, I think you can. I know a lot of designers who can't draw really at all. I work with some who can't really draw that well, but it is very helpful if you can draw because a lot of good design is like hand-eye coordination, especially if you use a Wacom tablet, which is just how it's a pen as a mouse. But I think it is helpful because it helps improve the communication between your brain and your hand, which is surprisingly a good part of making things on the computer. You can have a lot of ideas, but if you can't like successfully implement them, you're not really a good designer. But yeah, practice makes perfect. I do think anyone can draw. I don't think people try hard enough, but it's like a muscle. You just gotta work it and your brain will learn, your hand will learn how to communicate with one another. So drawing is important, but it's not essential. But just practice. It doesn't have to be anything great. Just do it. Not really a school-related question, but how would a person who didn't go to design school get into the industry? If you didn't go to design school, but you do want to start getting into the industry, pretty much if you have a strong portfolio and you know you can design well and you know your programs well, you're set. Not everywhere cares if you went to school at all, or if you went to school and studied a specific thing, or if you went to a really like high-end art school. Most of the time it doesn't really matter. If you have a strong portfolio, that's all that they can ask for, and that's about it. Yeah, just have a good portfolio, and that's how you can get started. But generally, sometimes going to art school or design school can help you build that strong portfolio, especially if you're young and just starting out. Ooh, how to start being an original artist while being influenced. This is a hard one. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is like a similar thing to like when people ask me how to find their aesthetic, how to find their style. Pretty much like taking bits and pieces of everything is not a bad thing. Artists are heavily influenced by each other and by previous artists, so it's not necessarily bad to be influenced by others, just don't rip people off. I take bits and pieces from everywhere, and that's kind of made my own style. So just like do what feels right to you. Don't feel like you have to constantly reference something to make something look good. Just do what you think looks good and what feels right, I guess, to you. I think, and I know a lot of people feel the same way, is that like no artist is completely original. Everybody is influenced by mentors or other artists out there on the internet, especially, that no one is completely original. It all comes from somewhere. Everything has been done before in a sense. It's just how you spin it and then mesh other influences into it. And that's kind of how you make your own style. Was there pressure to be artsy enough there in regards to going to art school, both in class and outside of class? FIDM was kind of a different school in regards to like other art schools. I know that some others might feel that there is more pressure to be artsy. Art school is generally pretty accepting of anyone who comes through it because there are a lot of really creative people. So I don't think anyone really cared. But it's just like you're free to be yourself. So if you want to be yourself, that's fine. If you want to be artsy, you can. If you don't want to be artsy, you can. It's entirely up to you. If you had to go to another school, what would have been your dream school? Ooh. If I didn't go to FIDM, I would have gone to Art Center in Pasadena. I do have like some regrets about not looking into it more seriously, but I think at the time, like FIDM just came up so much faster to me, and I didn't really know about Art Center until I moved to LA. Art Center is also a private art school. I think it's like a little bit more exclusive than FIDM is. They have a lot of different types of art versus FIDM is more industry based. But yeah, I would have gone to Art Center and studied graphic design there. I'm about to start at an art school and I'm terrified. Any general advice? I feel like I won't succeed. Don't sweat it. You're there to learn, and everybody's coming in generally new, and there's a lot of like pretentiousness and judgment, I feel like, in a lot of art programs, but I really think that only hinders people. So like, don't be one of those people who participates and like kind of judging and making other people feel uncomfortable, because art is so vulnerable. People are opening themselves up to a lot of criticism. So like, just, you know, find good friends, find some cool people that you get along with and share things with. And Gus's tail just came in again. And just try to have a good time. Art is fun, you know, don't spend every minute there, you know, stressing about everything. Art school is incredibly expensive, so don't waste it doing dumb stuff. How would you describe the learning/working environment at design school? Pretty intense, but it's all kind of like the experience that you want to make it. You can put blood, sweat, and tears into your time at design or art school, or you can kind of like half-ass it and be like, I didn't learn anything, because a lot of people do say that about FIDM, and it's really frustrating because I'm like, but did you try? Like, if you barely went to class, you complained about everything, you never used the resources that they had to offer, of course you didn't learn anything. It's not high school. Art school is incredibly expensive, again, and if you're gonna, you know, sit there and putter through everything, you're wasting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So it is what you make of it. So if you want it to be a really grand experience, you want to learn as much as you can, then it will be pretty intense. But you know what? That's the time of your life where you get to dedicate that to just making art. And that's like the coolest thing ever, and in hopes that you have a career out of it. So the more effort you put into it sooner, I think the better. But this is just my off-the-cuff opinion. But is it helpful to go to school at all? Kind of like what I already mentioned, that like you don't have to go to school if you are kind of more self-taught and you feel pretty confident in the stuff that you learned on your own, then you don't have to go to school. If you feel good, that's fine. If you have the portfolio and the technical skills and the good attitude to show that you're a serious designer and you're worth a company investing in you, then they're not going to care about the degree. Half the people I work with don't have a degree at all, or they didn't even study design. It's all about what you can show for it. So, did your parents support your decision? Yes and no. They say that they always supported my decision now, but at the time they were definitely very, 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 very hesitant about me going to art school. My older sister is an aerospace engineer and she went to Cal Poly, so they were pretty hesitant about me going to like a specialized school at all. They were more on like the UC side of things, or another type of like private school that isn't necessarily like a specialized tech school. I hate calling FIDM like a tech school or a trade school, because it's not really a trade school. But I definitely had to like butter them up to convince them that it's worth it. And I got a DVD from FIDM. I requested a DVD because those were the days, to show my dad, because my dad really didn't understand it. But now they are supportive. But it's kind of like with anything, and I don't know if this is just my parents, but it's like as soon as like I slip up or anything, it's easy for a lot of parents to go into the I told you so type of thing. Like, you decided to do this, you're on your own, like this was your decision, you need to live with the consequences type of thing, which does get old and it's not very supportive, but it's kind of made me more independent. But yeah, they came around to it. They like what I do now because I send them shirts that I design, so that's pretty cool. I get to rub it in their face a little bit, but just prove to them that it's worth it, because they're investing in you, whether they're helping you with tuition or not. They are there emotionally to support you. So I want to go to FIDM so bad for graphic design, but it's so expensive. Do you think it's worth the money? I have a lot of student debt. Let me look up really quickly how much FIDM's tuition is. I don't even want to look at this number. So the average total for one academic year, so that's 4 full quarters, is $35,000. So for 2 years for your Associate of Arts degree to spend $70,000. That does include supplies though. All your books, supplies, and everything come in your tuition. It's not a separate added cost, but you have to add on top of that just transportation, housing, food, just generalized living expenses. It does get quite expensive, especially because all of FIDM schools are based in really expensive cities. And I know a lot of people do commute from outside of LA or outside of San Francisco into the city to go to school, but I lived in downtown LA across the street from FIDM. So it was quite expensive. I'm in a lot of debt, quite a lot of debt. But is it worth it though? That's entirely up to you of what you make of it. I say yes, it was worth it, but some people would say not, but that's their opinion. How did you know which field you wanted to major in? If you've seen some of my other videos, I started doing graphic design when I was in high school because I took a course when I was in high school and I really liked it. And then I combined like my love for like designing things for making clothes, because I've always made my own clothes, and that's why I ended up in fashion design. But I think graphic design is a better field for me because it's kind of like a generalized application of design, because you can use it in so many different ways. And once you understand like the principles of design, you can pretty much do anything. But also I just like really like so many things about graphic design. I really enjoy like type, and that's something that you could only really do in graphic design because that's kind of like the only field where you use it constantly. Type is not the only thing I like about graphic design, but it's something that I really enjoy. Did you go straight to FIDM after high school, or did you do a community college and transfer? I know transferring in and out of FIDM is kind of complicated and hairy, and I looked into it briefly when I was finishing up FIDM to transfer maybe somewhere else to get my bachelor's, but I decided not to because the transfer process is quite complicated and they don't always transfer classes or take transfer credits. So private schools, man. Do you have any internship advice, internship do's or don'ts? I had an internship at the end of my second year at FIDM in January before I graduated in June. It was a paid internship, and I don't think that there should be unpaid internships. I think if you're doing work, you should get paid for it. But I looked specifically for a paid internship because I couldn't afford to have an unpaid internship. But yeah, one thing as an intern is that you're gonna do a lot of stuff that you really didn't think you were gonna do. And it's gonna be pretty boring because you're an intern and you're not there to, lead a rebrand on something. That's not your job. You gotta do a lot of legwork to work up to a higher position. And as an intern, you definitely do a lot of grunt work that really sucks. And a lot of the time I was running and getting coffee, and I was taking dogs for walks, and I was reorganizing empty cosmetic bottles because I worked at a cosmetic company. Not at a cosmetic company, but at a cosmetic branding agency. So yeah, do a lot of the legwork. It's not above you, or it's not below you rather. And that was one of the first things I learned at FIDM in one of my intro days. One of the advisors there was like, get the damn coffee. And that's what you had to do. You get the coffee until you work up and you learn along the way. It's not a waste of time to do a lot of grunt work. You learn and you get to watch other people do it, which is ultimately the best way to learn how to do things hands-on, is to watch without the commitment. Without the commitment of actually risking client money and time and like actual on-the-job stuff. So you just get to watch from afar, and I think that's the best way to learn. So absorb all of that. And look for a paid one if you can, because you might be doing a little bit more serious work instead of just wasting time all the time, which is really common for a lot of internships, which sucks. And I don't like when people have interns just there to waste time. Okay. How long are your classes and how long do you have for assignments? This is totally up to the school. At FIDM, we generally had things due every week. We only went to class once a week, but each class was 3 hours long. So you're generally working on things throughout the entire quarter. So you have 10 weeks to do something, but it's not like one project, but you might be building up to a main end project or a final. Do art schools have sports? Not that I know of. FIDM certainly did not. Is art school fun? Yes. I think so. Were you able to find your particular style of design when in school? Yes and no. I think when you have free reign on everything, you can do literally anything, like on personal projects for school, because there are no like boundaries. You're not having a client telling you can or can't do something. I think you get to have like that creative freedom, but when you are out of school and you start working, you learn to kind of design within a lot of parameters. And I think that's where you start to push yourself to figure out, okay, this is what I know I like to do, and this is what I know. Like, this is what I know what works. So I think in school and out of school, but I think working really pushes you to find your style. Okay, I'll do a few more. Was design school enjoyable, and did you make friends that share similar interests? I don't really have a lot of friends from FIDM. I have some like mutuals that like we still talk with every once in a while, but kind of, sort of. But I know like I could still reach out to them if I needed to. But unfortunately, a lot of the people I went to FIDM with don't do design anymore. I don't know what that means, but I'm still doing it. Something unexpected about your program that should be important for a new student to know. I think the biggest thing that I wish I knew, and I try to tell other people when they do start in design, is that your stuff is gonna be critiqued, and it's gonna be critiqued a lot. You have to accept it. You have to grow a thick skin. It's gonna hurt. And I had multiple classes where I cried, where I had to leave and go sit in the bathroom and cry because my professor ripped all my work down from the wall. And that's just a part of it. Art school is intense, but ultimately at the end of the day, that's how the industry is. The industry is ruthless, and they are not afraid to tell you, especially clients, and maybe even internal like creative directors and senior designers, managers, everything. People will tell you if they like your work or not. And it's hard to take that. But criticism is literally like the biggest thing to learn to understand how to use to your advantage. If it's someone that you know is right, you know that they're a better designer than you know they're a stronger creative than you have to take what they say into consideration. It doesn't mean you have to use it or apply it, but like just listen to it. And if it's criticism that's dumb and you know it's wrong, you know it's dumb and it's wrong, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean everything is dumb and wrong, because ultimately at the end of the day, the point of graphic design is generally to sell something. People are looking out for what they know will sell and what will work. It's not always a personal thing. It's just like, I just don't like how you did this. It's like, that's not necessarily what the case is going to be. It's just, we know that based on our consumer demographic, this might perform better than this. And there's generally a lot of logistics behind decisions like that. So take criticism and learn how to absorb it and use it to your advantage. And don't shut everyone out. But you don't have to listen to everyone at the same time. It's a balance. But that's one thing I really wish I knew. Everyone's gonna rip you apart, and also learn how to give feedback, how to give criticism that's constructive, because I think it makes you more self-reflective as well. Would you say buying all the textbooks are a necessity? At FIDM, they came with the tuition, but I still use all of my textbooks. They're all behind me in this giant bookcase. I love all the textbooks I got, except for like the general ed courses. Those were boring textbooks that I sold after I was done. Yeah, they're really cool books. Hold on. Like this one, it's just a branding book of just like, let me find something cool. This was a textbook of mine for a branding class. And it's like, it's such a cool book. It's just filled with like cool packaging inspiration and stuff. And this was an actual textbook. We had assigned reading for this. So yeah, keep them. And they're also cool books. You can always reference them later. But yeah, buying them is a necessity because generally you have assigned work in them. And you can't really find them like online for rent or anything because they are pretty specialized books. Does going to a designated art school qualify you for... This is a weird question, a weirdly worded question. So, does going to a more specialized school qualify you for a better job in design? I don't think so, but it really depends, again, on your portfolio. If you come out of it with a really strong portfolio, yeah, cool, it helped you. But it's just like, at the end of the day, no matter what school you go to, if you have a strong portfolio coming out of it and you have a good work ethic and you're appealing to employers, that's all that matters. Only some people really care about where you went to school, but like from what I've learned, it really doesn't matter. If you're good, you're good. That's it. What if you aren't as talented as others? I don't know how to answer this. So yeah, what if you aren't as talented as others? This, I think, is kind of like a general school. If you're not as strong in a class, you just have to do the extra work. There's a lot of extra effort that you have to put into something. But like anything, practice makes near perfect, and the more you do something, the better you will become. Yeah, you just got to put in the extra work and keep trying, keep learning, meet with people, find mentors and advisors, and work with other creatives on stuff. Ask for feedback and really like expose yourself in a sense. don't expose yourself. That sounds weird. Really like open yourself up to kind of like that vulnerable side of art and really, you know, absorb everything. I live 3 hours from a good art school or college. Is it worth moving? I'm going to a community college currently. Yes, I think the more effort you put into going to school, I think the better. If you have the option to move closer and to attend, I would say do it, because you can just immerse yourself in dedicating full time to that instead of like worrying about commuting or stuff, because then you're not really, you know, putting yourself into the culture there, into the groups, meeting people there, you know, making that community. I think that's really important, especially in the creative industry where like everything is like word of mouth. It's who you know, the sooner you can establish those relationships, the better. So I say move. If you have the means to, move. How do you get better at your programs? Practice. Work on them every single day, just like anything. The more you do them, the better. That is all I'm going to be answering for this very long video. It ended up being super long. Yeah, I'm sorry for another really long video, but I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope this answered some questions. If you have any other questions, of course, feel free to DM me on Instagram at kel.lauren or comment down below and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. If anyone has any other art school experience, definitely leave them in the comments down below so other people can learn about what other people's experiences were, because I know this is a big commitment. It takes a lot from families, emotionally and also financially. Art school is quite expensive, so is it worth it? Entirely up to you. Depends on what you make of it. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this very long video. I hope it was helpful for some people who are looking into this industry. Build a community for each other, support each other. That's the best you can do. And also put a lot of effort into that portfolio. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye. Stop the recording.